All right, let's forget about lions and tigers for just a minute. Today, we're going to dive deep into the world of creatures without backbones to uncover 5 absolutely ingenious blueprints for life. These are the fundamental designs that have let invertebrates pretty much take over every corner of our planet. So let's jump right in.
So let me ask you this. What do an earthworm and a lobster possibly have in common? I know, it sounds like a trick question, right? On one hand, you've got the humble earthworm, just a soft-bodied little tunneler. And on the other, a lobster, a creature that's basically walking around in a suit of armor. So what's the connection? Well, the answer is hidden in their deep evolutionary history and the basic body plans that connect animals that seem totally different. Here's our game plan for this little tour. We're going to start with the surprisingly elegant design of segmented worms. Then we'll meet the armored conquerors of the animal kingdom. After that, we'll check out the world of soft-bodied survivors and wrap things up with some truly bizarre spiny-skinned creatures and their even stranger cousins. All right, let's get started.
Okay, our journey kicks off with the very first of our 5 blueprints, the segmented worms, or Phylum-Annelida. Now, the earthworm is probably the one you know best, but believe me, there is so much more to this group than you might think.
And this slide, it's a perfect illustration of the diversity packed into this one blueprint. Over on the left, that's Nereis, an aquatic worm with these little bristly paddle-like things it uses for swimming. And on the right, yep, that's the infamous leech. Now, even though they live totally different lives, look closely. See that one thing they have in common? Their bodies are made up of a series of rings, or segments. That right there is the hallmark of an annelid.
So this whole repeating body plan thing, it has a name. It's called metamerism. You can think of it like a freight train. Each car is its own unit, but they're all linked up to make the whole thing work. This modular design is a huge key to their success. In fact, it makes total sense that the name Annelida actually comes from the Latin word for little ring.
So how does this blueprint actually play out? Well, annelids are pretty sophisticated. They have distinct organ systems just like we do. They're also bilaterally symmetrical, which just means you could draw a line right down the middle and get 2 mirror image halves. They've got a true body cavity called a column that holds all their internal organs. And this is a big one, they have a closed circulatory system, so their blood stays inside vessels. That's a much more efficient way to move nutrients and oxygen around. Plus, they have specialized parts for getting rid of waste and for moving, like those paddle-like parapodia we saw on the Nereis.
All right, let's move on to our next blueprint. And folks, get ready, because we're now meeting the absolute, undisputed rulers of the animal kingdom, phylum Arthropoda.
If you want to grasp just how dominant arthropods are, get this. More than 2/3 of all known animal species on Earth belong to this group. Just think about that for a second. From the tiniest insect in your backyard to the crabs on the beach, arthropods have conquered basically every habitat you can imagine. Their blueprint is without a doubt one of the most successful in the entire history of life.
And wow, just look at the variety here. You've got insects, arachnids, crustaceans, all with wildly different body shapes and lifestyles. So what's the common thread that ties them all together? Well, the clue is right in their name. Arthro means joint, and poda means foot. The defining feature of this whole group is their jointed appendages.
So, what's their secret sauce? What's the key to all this success? It's really a 3-part formula. You've got a segmented body, you've got jointed limbs for really precise movement, and you've got a tough, lightweight exoskeleton made of something called chitin. This suit of armor isn't just for protection, it also gives their muscles a solid framework to attach to, which allows for some seriously powerful and controlled movement.
All right, let's peek under the hood of the arthropod blueprint. Their bodies are typically split into 3 sections: a head, a thorax, and an abdomen. Now, remember how the annelids had that closed circulatory system? Well, arthropods have an open system, which means their blood kind of just sloshes around inside their body. They've also developed this amazing toolbox of ways to breathe, from gills to book lungs to the super intricate tracheal system you see in insects. Add in a really efficient waste removal system and a whole suite of advanced sensory organs, and yeah, you've got a recipe for world domination.
Okay, we've seen the armored warriors. Now let's do a complete 180 and look at a totally different strategy for survival, the soft-bodied survivors of phylum Mollusca. This is the second largest group in the entire animal kingdom, and it includes things you definitely know, like snails, clams, and even the giant squid.
This slide just beautifully captures how incredibly flexible the molluscan body plan is. I mean, on one hand, you have the slow-moving, heavily armored apple snail, And on the other, the fast, incredibly intelligent, and completely shellless octopus. It's almost hard to believe they're related, but they are. They both share that same fundamental blueprint. It's just been tweaked and modified in countless ways. You want to hear about one of their coolest inventions? It's this thing called a radula. It's a unique feeding organ. Okay, picture a ribbon in their mouth that's covered in tiny, sharp teeth. They use this thing like a file to scrape algae off rocks or even to drill through the shells of their prey. It's a remarkable tool that has let them take advantage of all sorts of food sources.
So what's the basic molluscan blueprint? It's an unsegmented body with three main parts: a head, a muscular foot for getting around, and a visceral hump that contains all the internal organs. And then, covering that visceral hump, there's a fleshy layer called the mantle. And a lot of species, like that snail we saw, the mantle is the little factory that's responsible for making that protective shell. All right, for our last stop on this tour, we're heading into some seriously strange and wonderful territory. We're going to look at two groups that are related, but whoa, are they different: the echinoderms and the hemichordates. So get ready, because your expectations about what an animal body should look like are about to be challenged. First up, we have the echinoderms. The name literally means spiny-skinned, and yeah, that checks out. This group includes familiar faces like sea stars and brittle stars. And the first thing you'll probably notice about them is their unique body plan. Unlike the other animals we've seen, adult echinoderms have radial symmetry. Their body parts are arranged around a central point, kind of like the slices of a pie. But the most remarkable, absolutely mind-blowing feature of the echinoderms is their water vascular system. This is an intricate network of fluid-filled canals that works just like a hydraulic system. By controlling the water pressure, they can extend and retract thousands of tiny little tube feet. It's how they move, how they cling to things, and even how they pry open shells. It's a truly ingenious piece of biological engineering. So that spiny skin is actually an internal skeleton, an endoskeleton, made of little calcium carbonate plates. But here's where it gets really weird. While the adult echinoderms are radial, their larvae, their babies, are bilaterally symmetrical, just like us. They go through this radical transformation as they grow up. And if that's not strange enough for you, they also don't have a dedicated excretory system. How they manage that is still a bit of a mystery. Now let's meet the enigmatic cousins of the echinoderms, the hemichordates. This is a small but really important group of worm-like marine animals. As you can see from this example, their body is divided into three pretty distinct parts. You have a proboscis up front for burrowing, a collar, and then a long trunk. The hemichordate blueprint is pretty simple, but hey, it's effective. They're bilaterally symmetrical, they have an open circulatory system, and they breathe using gills, which makes perfect sense for where they live. Here's a fun fact, though. Scientists used to think they were a subgroup of our own phylum, the chordates, because they share a few key features with us. But now they're recognized as their own distinct group. So there we have it. We've journeyed through 5 remarkable, highly successful blueprints for invertebrate life. Now let's do a quick recap and see how they all stack up. Think of this table as your ultimate cheat sheet. For annelids, the magic word is segmentation. For arthropods, it's all about that exoskeleton and those jointed legs. For mollusks, just remember the soft body with a muscular foot and a mantle. For echinoderms, it's that wild water vascular system and their radial symmetry that set them apart. And for hemichordates, you're looking for that distinctive 3-part body. Keep these key features in mind, and you'll be a pro at spotting these amazing creatures. From segmented worms to spiny-skinned stars, we've really only scratched the surface of the incredible diversity of invertebrate life. Each of these 5 blueprints represents a unique and incredibly successful solution to the challenges of just staying alive. But it does raise an interesting question. What's the true measure of evolutionary success? Is it just about sheer numbers? Because if so, the arthropods are the champs, hands down. Or is it maybe the ability to adapt one single body plan into a huge variety of forms, like we see with the mollusks? The truth is, there's no single right answer. Each of these blueprints is just a testament to the power of evolution to come up with endless, beautiful forms.